Hey, friends. Okay, this is Jim with another installment of my podcast. I swear it's true, and it is. This one's also, unfortunately, kind of sad. It's about how my book came to be published, or even written. And this is a copy of it in Italian. It's the only copy I have right now because the other part of this podcast is a complaint about FedEx and their seeming inability to get a box of books to me. Period. But this was last year. A fellow in Italy named John Carlo Pandolfi requested permission to translate it and put out an Italian edition. And permission was granted, and here it is. And it's a beautiful job. It looks just like the English version, except the words are different. But anyway, so I'm just using it for illustrative purposes today. Okay, so 2 weeks ago, I asked publisher Ben Goldberg for a box of 20 books because I have none, and I sell them occasionally to pay the rent. And he dutifully sent off a message to the printer up in Minnesota to send a box of 20 books to me. And but they had an old address, and they've sent books before, so this old address really got stuck somewhere there because I've never really had a problem like this before. The old address is about 80 miles from here. This shouldn't be that difficult, but it has been. Those books are now considered lost, and FedEx is doing a deep something. I forgot what the woman from there termed it. An intensive search for the books. I told her what they looked like. I sent her a picture of this, and said they'll just like this, except the words are different. Hopefully she'll get it, but they're going to go digging around. Supposedly they're in a box in a truck somewhere in Macon, Georgia, but when they go to try to find them in the truck, they're not there. So I don't know what happened to my books. But anyway, that's my beef with FedEx, and screw them. I'll get the books eventually. I'm going to probably have to drive to Macon to get them. I don't want them holding on to them any longer than they have to. So the book came to be written originally at the request of a fellow named Sean Bodie. Now, Sean was the owner and publisher of a company in England called Helter Skelter Press. Excuse me. Helter Skelter Press dealt with, and still deals with, cult figures, biographies of cult figures and musicians on the fringe, that kind of thing, like Jackson Frank. And he got, after Jackson passed in '99, at some point, Sean Bodie got in touch with me and said he would like to have someone interview me, and they would ghostwrite a biography of Jackson and put my name on it and use my information that I gave them, and they'd pay me, some money. I should have probably just taken that. Then I wouldn't have to be dealing with FedEx. But at any rate, I had just recently talked myself into a job writing for a newspaper, the Bluestone Press in High Falls, New York. It was my local paper, and it's a good paper. It got better once I joined. But I had talked myself into that gig, and I was doing pretty well, discovering each week that I was a pretty good writer, and the feedback that I got from all my articles and pieces were very positive. So I said to Sean Bodie, I said, I can write. We don't need to ghostwrite this if we don't have to, because I can write. And I thought it would be a good challenge too. So he said, okay, well, send me a couple chapters. And this was all via email, by the way, that we communicated. Send me a couple chapters, and he gave me some pointers on how he wanted it to start, with what he thought would be a good idea. And so that's what we did. I sent him a couple chapters, followed his guidelines, and he loved it. And he said, keep going, this is good stuff. I've got personal things I'm working around, but we'll go to contract, soon, and which gave me a big boost in confidence. And then I didn't hear from him for a while, but except for an occasional email saying, "Keep writing. This is good. We'll go to contract soon. We'll go to contract soon." Then I just about was finished with the book, which is about 300 pages, and I get another email from him apologizing for possibly misleading me a little bit. He said, and where he elaborated that his personal stuff that he was working around was leukemia, and he was getting treated for it, and everything was going to be fine. He said in 6 to 8 weeks we will go to contract, and that was that. About 8 weeks later, to the day, I got an email from someone else with Sean's obituary. The treatment didn't work. He died. He was only 42 years old, wasn't expecting to die, and his estate was just a big mess. So, with that being said, now I'm stuck with a book. They told me from Helter Skelter that his estate was such a mess that it was going to be years before things would be settled. I was free to take my book elsewhere. Take it. I didn't even start this whole thing. They had asked. They wanted to put a book out, and I was just helping them out in a way. I mean, obviously it helps me out too, but that was that. And so now I got the book, and the bonus part of it all is that over the years, from when Jackson passed, in fact before he passed even, in 1999. There were record producers or engineers around Woodstock would tell me and then send me tapes that Jackson had made. When he would get $50 or so, he'd book a session in these different little studios, Shotwell Studios, Peter McKeel Studios, and a couple others, and we'd go in and spend his $50 wisely recording all these tapes. And with new songs on them, sometimes with backing musicians as well. But he was homeless, so when he was done recording, the engineers would, here's your tape, Jackson. Oh no, just hang on to them. I'll be back for them when I can. And he never would come back. So now that he's gone, the only one that came to us when he was still alive was from Peter McKeel, who then himself died. But when he died, it was kind of sad. But he had sent me the reel-to-reel that there were 5 songs on, he thought. And he had transferred them over to a cassette, which was the first thing we'd ever seen. And he came over and he handed it to Jackson, and it said Jackson C. Frank, songwriter. He had written on it. When I sent the tape, the reel-to-reel, I got that later, sent it to a company or a fellow in California who worked for Hollywood Records. He had the whole thing professionally transferred and all that from the reel-to-reel, and we discovered that on the other side there were like 4 more songs or something like that, and Peter had started to record over one of them, which all that's left of it is 39 seconds of Have You Seen the Unicorns? Damn, I wonder what the rest of it would have sounded like. But at any rate, it got stopped there, and which is good. And so I had that, and then I had all these other sessions that showed up, some in 4 tracks, real professional stuff. And out of the blue, I get an email from Ben Goldberg about a Bing Records in Brooklyn, New York, and Ben wanted to put out the music, and I was in agreement, and I owned the rights to all that stuff, and I casually mentioned the book that I had written at the request of Sean Bodie, and he said, "Well, we can publish it." Now, he had never published a book before, and they did a beautiful job. I mean, you can see just the design of the cover alone is fabulous. I mean, it's just a beautiful book, and it stands out because of the colors and everything. It stands out in the crowd. So they did put it out. It came out in 2015. It's been out 10 years now. In fact, November 10th, I think, will be 10 years, something like that. But that's how the book came to be a book. And I tell the whole story at the beginning about what happened with Sean Bodie, and and dedicated to him. And the introduction to this Italian copy, I wrote the whole story in probably 3 or 4 pages, which I can't even read back to you right now because they're in Italian in this. But I just told the story about Sean and what a shame it was, because he was really dedicated to the music, and that's about it. People are interested in Jackson Frank. I've got lots of other stories to tell. Hopefully, I'll do a good job with this podcast that I'm just starting, and ride the bandwagon a little bit, because it seems like everybody and their brother or grandmother has a podcast, and I don't have anything unique and special except my knowledge and stories and a really good memory for all this stuff to share with you folks. And I hope you like my stories, and we'll continue to listen and watch. Well, thank you.